Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for joining today's session on managing multi-road plan and profile sheets with CTC's Sheet Generator. My name is Patrick Rennie. I am an account manager here at SolidCAD based in Alberta, and I'm going to be facilitating today's webinar. Joining me is Jae Kwon. He's one of my technical consultant colleagues based out in Eastern Canada. He's going to be taking you through the actual tool today and going over any sort of functionalities and workflows to expect while using the product. Just as a little aside as well, we are carving some time out at the very end of this webinar for some Q&A. I would encourage you, if you do have any questions for either myself or Jay, in the Zoom field area, there is a chat or a Q&A option. We'd encourage you to put any of your questions in those fields, and we will be getting to them after the presentation. In terms of an agenda, we are going to start with a little bit of a brief about SolidCAD and CTC. Then Jay is going to go into his demonstration of the CTC sheet generator. And then, like I said, at the very end of today's call, we are going to field some questions. So what is SolidCAD and what do we do? At SolidCAD, we help our clients implement technology and optimize workflows. We do this to create some more efficiencies within the overall client's scope, as well as help to show the latest and greatest trends in technology and how you as an organization might be able to adopt them to better suit your needs. In terms of the different groups or the different businesses that we service, we work anywhere from the architecture, engineering, and construction side of the industry to infrastructure, manufacturing, and also plant. Specifically, Jay and I are part of SolidCAD's infrastructure team. So in particular, we work with lots of engineering firms and municipalities for road design, pipe networks, that sort of thing, to make sure that you're getting what you need. In terms of infrastructure services that we at SolidCAD offer, we offer quite a wide variety of them. In particular, we do a lot of training and consulting work. Events such as this webinar here that we're presenting you today, which are, of course, free to join, as well as different types of support, workflow optimization, as well as assessments. So if there's anything that you see here that you think your organization could benefit from, please feel free to reach out to me directly, and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. In terms of training, we do offer training across Canada. We do have offices from Burnaby all the way out to Halifax. Currently, with the current climate, we are offering all of our training online. However, we do look forward to being able to see you in person, hopefully soon. This brings us to what CTC is. And essentially, CTC is a company that we've partnered with down in the United States who create several different plugins and optimization workflows for different Autodesk offerings. In particular, today we're going to be talking about the civil offerings that CTC has, which are denoted as CIM, or the SIM Project Suite and the SIM Manager Suite. What you see highlighted in red here is what Jay is going to be talking about in today's webinar. These tools are both free to download. So if you're interested in getting a trial before you buy sort of a situation, you're absolutely able to do that directly on their website. As well, anything that's listed in this light green color that you see, so feature to align, survey sweeper, part swapper, and corridor cleanup, those are free to use at any point in time. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Jay, who's going to get into the bulk of today's webinar. Jay, off to you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll start sharing my screen. Okay. Okay, so today I'll do a quick review of the advantages of the sheet generator compared to the out-of-the-box view-framed based approach. So I'll go over a bit of detail about that, and then it's more of a tips and tricks when you do use a sheet generator, I guess, because when we get to generating these sheets, whenever there are multiple roads involved, there is something that you have to be aware of because it's a layer-based approach. So I'll go over that and I'll explain what you might run into and how to deal with it. So first of all, let's do a quick review of the sheet generation that we have out of the box and just go over what we have in the CTC CIM project suite and show you the difference for those who are not familiar with it already. So this is a drawing that had the sheets, like basically view frames generated using the out of the box sort of the create view frames. Now, the only issue with this tool is that once you create the view frames, it's not very flexible as to how you can shape it. So one of the things you can do is you can sort of slide the position of the view and shrink the match line position, for example. But if you've tried to use this before, you might have run into this issue where you can't make this bigger, and you can't make the view a different shape. Like you can't have a small view shape for maybe one spot and then adjust the rest because you're limited in how far you can move, right? So this match line, for example, like let's say I was to shrink the first view and then I need to drag the match line back to compensate, but I can't do that. It won't go any further. That's because this was created with a 0 meter overlap. Now you can anticipate overlaps and create one with an overlap. So you can sort of, this one's created with a 20 meter overlap. So that lets you go back a little ways, but only to a certain extent. And you can't make that number too big because every time you bump up the overlap number, it kind of compresses all the view shapes together. And then you end up having way more sheets than you need, possibly, right? So maybe that's not what you're looking for. Now, let's take a look at how the CTC sheet generation works. So in this one, I already have a set generated for this main road. So the timber road. Now, this is basically the same thing as view frames, except it's a lot more flexible. All it is it's created with a block that's sort of generally, the block is positioning the sheet, but actually what's shown is controlled by just a polyline, which you can freely edit. So if, for example, in this setup, I generated a set of view shapes. Now, one of them happens to fall right where the cedar road is connecting, like right in the middle of it. Maybe that's not so good, right? So to adjust it, it's really easy. You can just, as far as a view position is concerned relative to the sheet, you can just move the block. So that's going to reposition things that way. And as far as what's shown, you can just edit the polyline. So you can just grab the vertex and drag it over. And now that sheet is going to show that. And that's being done without having to set a large sort of match line overlap number and having to squish all these sheets together for the rest of the drawing set. So yeah, so that's a primary advantage of this tool, and that's main reason why this was put together. Now, as far as when the multiple roads are involved, there is one thing to sort of watch out for. So let's take a look. I'm going to pop up the CIM project suite here, ribbon. and run the view shapes tool. So I already have a set of view shapes done for the timber road. Now I just want to do one for this side road, this connecting road, which I'm calling Cedar Road. So let's go ahead and run that tool. So plan view shapes. Again, I'm going to skip over most of these options because there's lots of other videos on going into the details on how to use this tool. Today, I just want to go over some strategy related topics concerning multiple roads. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to use the default layers. There we go. So just running the tool using the default layers. Now I'm going to click on finish. All right, so it generated a set of V-shapes for Cedar Road, but notice what happened. This V-shape basically ended up disappearing. So I guess that's one tricky thing about to watch out for if we're using this sort of layer-based approach. Now these polylines based on, on a certain layer, it's given us a lot of flexibility on how to set up the sheets, as we've seen a couple of minutes ago, but you do have to sort of watch out, right? So the primary road was done with one layer. Now, when you do it with a second road that's connecting to the first, you kind of have to set up a different layer for it to work properly. So just, you can do it while running the tool. Let me just hit the undo here. Just go back to where we were. I'll just run the tool again. Now, in this case, I already have a second layer set up, but let's pretend that we didn't. So this is a layer that's for the block that we're using to position the sheet. We have the area block. Let's pretend that I didn't have the second one created, the cedar one. There is a create layer button here that you can use. So for example, I can just create a layer and maybe I'll just call it G shape. I'll kind of match what's already there. Area 2. Okay, so I can create a layer that way, and I'll create another layer here. So G V shape plan view shape 2. So basically creating a second layer, a second set of layers to generate these V shapes with, so that there's no conflict with the first set. So if I go ahead and do that, so that works fine, right? The only thing is, it might be better to just create the layer beforehand, because as you can see, like none of the colors and line types or line weights, that's not gonna sort of carry over from what we use initially. So if you already have those settings set, you might wanna, so let me just go ahead and back over this. So I'll just undo what I did. So what you might want to do instead, which you might find easier, is just create the layers beforehand, right? So I'm going to go find the layers that are usually used. For example, this print area one, plan print area. That's for the plan view block that establishes the positioning of the viewport. So maybe I just do, first of all, to make your life easier, you can just copy that name, create a new layer, just do a quick paste, and just add something for the second road. And that's essentially what I did with these ones that end in cedar. So that way you retain your color settings and that kind of stuff. So I'll go ahead and close that. So I'll just run it the second time, just using the layers that I created previously. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, and yeah, so for the print area block, that's establishing the position. That's fine. For the layer of that though, I'll use a cedar layer. And next for the view shape, basically what you can or can't see, like the shape of the polyline. That polyline, I'll use a cedar layer as well. So, and I'll go finish. So now it's gonna, this time it created the same thing except using all the layer settings that I kind of want. So that's one way to handle it. So on a smaller drawing, on a smaller project, that's probably a pretty decent way to handle it. Just set up a second set of layers so that when you generate a view set of view shapes, you can get it done that way. Okay, and but the other way to handle it is simply just split up the separate roads into different drawings. So you know, and when you need to put it together, you can use data shortcuts, you can use XREFs, whatever you prefer. So that's the approach that I'm going to take in this one. So I have a design, I have an XREF of the other road. Actually, that one's a data shortcut, but okay, so actually this is a drawing that I wanted to take a look at. So yeah, we have the main road, we have some view shapes generated with it, and this other road has been just XREF'd in for reference. And you know, when it comes to doing the cedar road, just do another drawing, just XREF in the original timber path drawing, and just simply do another design, like another alignment, profile, and so on in the separate drawing. That way you can just run the tool and not have it clash, the two different layers clash, because when you do the new set, that would be the only one that exists, right? So for example, I'll just get rid of these for now and just run the tool here just to show how that goes, right? So you can simply run the plan view shapes tool, use a standard block that's always being used, or the standard layers, I mean. So this time, not creating a second set of layers with that ends in cedar or anything, and just do it that way. And it can create the view shapes fine without any kind of an issue with clashing. That gets rid of any previous V shapes. And again, I'm noticing that this is kind of this is really easy to adjust in the sheet generator compared to the out of the box tools. You know, I can just simply rotate that view and reshape my polyline just to adjust what is being shown here. So that's all you do. Okay. So now, whether you use the two different sets or, you know, multiple sets of layers, or whether you use this approach, like this approach, you only need one set of layers if you separate it into separate drawings for each road. So that's probably easier to do for an entire subdivision where you might have like several roads involved. Maybe the one drawing approach if it's a small project where you just have a couple of roads join up, then you can do a quick job with that. Now, when it comes time to actually generate your layouts, you know, in the first approach, you just run this create layouts tool twice. So let me just go find the first drawing here that we were looking at. So yeah, one set is on one layer, another set is on another layer. Now when we do the create layouts command to actually generate the sheets, if we look at the inputs that go into that, so it's going to have all these it's going to have these layers listed here, right? You first run the regular one for the first road. So run it once. I'm not going to run it right now just for the sake of, you know, it can take a little bit of time to get that generated. So I'll just go into the input, show it to you, and then just hop out. But the first time you run it, you would run it on the regular layers. The second time you run it on the second layers, right? And that's all you do. And basically when it comes time to include it into a sheet set, you just choose the same sheet set. Okay, so I don't have everything set up here, so I'll just hop out. But in the second approach, you just run the create layouts tool in the first drawing, and then run the same tool in the second drawing, and you just use the same layer settings, and that's it. Okay, so yeah, that's about it. Just so as a quick review, you know, like the advantage of the sheet generator is really flexible to set up your view frames. All it is a matter of just moving around the block to position it on the sheet, and then adjusting the vertices of the polyline to control how much of that area is being shown. And two approaches to handle multiple roads when it comes to generating the view frames and creating sheets. So the first approach being just create a second set of layers for these blocks and these polylines. And the second approach being just do it up in separate drawings, one for each road, and then just merge it together into one sheet set for both approaches. Okay, so that's about it. Today's a really quick tip and demo. Let me know if you have any questions. Patrick, were there any questions in the chat so far?
So far, nothing, but we can hold on for a couple, for like a minute or so here to see.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, thanks, Jay, for that demo. Just as a quick aside here for those who are on the call, we do have a YouTube channel that all of these webinars do get pushed to. So if there are any, if you missed something or you'd like to review anything that Jay has done, we do have links to that that you can check directly on our solidcad.ca website. So we'll leave it open just for a couple more seconds to see if there's any questions that pop up, but otherwise we will we'll give you some time back in your day.
Sounds good. We do offer free trials too. So if you want to try out the tools, just, you know, contact Patrick and just let him know and he can set you up.
Absolutely.
And I'm also available to do a more detailed demo on how to use the tool if you're interested in that.
Well, it doesn't look like, Jay, there's going to be a lot of questions for this one. So I want to thank you all for your time. Thanks for joining myself and Jay for this little demo. And like I said, if there are any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to either of us, and we'd be happy to give you a hand. So thanks again, Jay, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks to everyone for joining. Have a good day.